I would like to introduce our first reader, J. Otis Powell, with an interrobang at the end. Speaks, I am alternatively using punctuations in my name that express my personal journey towards wholeness while using the bless in my poetry. I work as a writer, performance artist, mentor, curator, consultant, philosopher, open space technology facilitator, public speaker, and arts administrator. Please welcome J. Otis Powell.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, and thanks to the St. Paul Almanac. This is the third time my work has appeared in the Almanac, and I'm very grateful for that. The publishing opportunities are getting more and more narrow all the time, and so for a community organization to actually publish writers as openly as the Almanac does is really a democratic process that I think we should all support. And one of the things that wasn't in the bio you heard is that I'm also a recording artist, and I have a new CD called Balm. And so if you like what you hear in the reading, you can hear something like that, but with music and improvised on the CD. And I have a few with me this evening if you are interested. When I was thinking about how I might use my time this evening, I decided that since the poem that was published was about a river, so to speak, I would do a segment that carried that theme through everything. And I will start with a poem by Langston Hughes, which he actually had published when he was 16 years old. As long and as prolific as his career was, the first poem he ever published has become one of his most well-known poems. And the poem I'm going to read from Langston Hughes is The Negro Speaks of Rivers. And I've decided to call my presentation Another Negro Speaks of Rivers. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world, and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo, and it lulled me to sleep. I looked up on the Nile and raised the pyramids above it, and I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. A lot of work that I have written in the last few years was influenced by an essay by Toni Morrison that was published in an anthology about memory and writing nonfiction. And her introduction to her essay was explaining why she was asked to write in a book with nonfiction writers, and she explained it with the paragraph I'm going to share with you now. The essay is called The Sight of Memory. Toni Morrison has described the Mississippi River as a model of the creative mind, especially its periods of idleness and intensity. She uses the river's unpredictability and the force of the river as a metaphor for explaining how subjectively we are served by its mysterious, circuitous ways in intellectual problems, particularly those we claim to be functionally objective. Because no matter how functional the account of these writers or how much it was the product of intention. The act of imagination is bound up with memory. You know, they straightened out the Mississippi River in places to make room for houses and livable acreage. Occasionally, the river floods these places. Floods is the word they use. But in fact, it is not flooding. It is remembering. Remembering where it used to be. All water has a perfect memory and is forever trying to get back to where it was. Writers are like that. Remembering where we were, that valley we ran through, what the banks were like, the light that was there, and the route back to our original place. It is emotional memory, what the nerves and the skin remember, and as well as how it appeared. And a rush of imagination is our flooding. The poem that appeared, or appears, in the Almanac was actually written at the same time that I was writing another poem that also had river references, and so I decided to bring those poems together in this as well. And you will maybe hear the influence of the Toni Morrison essay in them. The first one, which is not in the Almanac yet, is called Trapped Inside. Every river longs to swell memory to ancestor size and reclaim land that belonged to her. Old woman river, running naked in the sun, carrying waste and toxins along with grief for dead things to a sea, transporting esoteric knowledge no one had a taste for. Unlike clockwork, she forgets nothing, though she sometimes wishes she could. She wishes she could quit this job, but no matter where she goes, her work is the same. Central Casting only sends her to certain auditions. When they hired me, they hired a mother, she said. But I never intended my breast would be available to strangers. My nurturing would be for institutions which devour whatever I offer. When I arrive in the morning, a white noise hum of machines welcomes me to give up milk like a wet nurse. She sings pity songs, solicits sympathy from those who might understand. She feels as if she's time. Instead, she is slave to it. Compromised, out of shape in metabolism, she goes anyway and does who she is. Because, like Earth and her rivers, she's running to keep water running in the right direction. And finally, the poem that's in the 2014 St. Paul. The title is Good River, Feeling Bad. Her voice is deep water, though she's too shallow this year for ships. Her body more round than angular. When I ask her questions, I get more answers than I know what to do with. She says her name in whispers. I know her by many names and by the ranges she explores when she sings. I know her by how she changes tunes and carries her heart to the sea. Bare feet, wide bottom, she stands like Bessie and Billy and Ma Rainey, belting blues in wordless conundrums. When she returns to actual lyrics, she sings, "The blues is a good river, the blues is a good river, the blues is a good river," but she's feeling kind of bad. Her song carries ever-changing sameness, while everything about her transforms. Banks, depths, ecology, water, running river, reclaiming place. Thank you very much.